Hi,
Movie Junk, how are you?
movie junk. All right.
I do.
I've wasted my whole career, it seems, because now I'm doing stuff about movie junk.
Awesome, awesome.
Okay.
Well, it's an honor to have you on our show. I do want to give a very, very special welcome to Rick Avery to our show with over 700 film and TV credits to your name. You're an award-winning stunt coordinator, stuntman, actor, director, and have won the Screen Actors Guild Award twice in the films Traffic and The Dark Knight, and have also been nominated a handful of times as well as authored 5 books. It's truly an honor to have you on our show today.
Oh, thank you very much.
I I do want to kick things off, and believe it or not, the very, very first film that I actually saw you in was the movie Beverly Hills Cop 3. And that
Yeah.
the illegal chop shop scene, with Eddie Murphy. And we actually recently just interviewed Louis Lombardi. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He was
Yes.
also in that scene with you as well, too. But what was it like, working in that film? That was just more of a personal question from my side.
Well, it was interesting because John Landis, who is the director, put me in the scene just before he shot it. So he came over and said, "Oh, okay, I want you in this scene and just play a cop." And then he went over and got a baseball hat from somebody and put it on my head and turned it around. And all of a sudden I had a part in the movie. So I've done a lot of movies with John, so I think it was just a fun thing for him to do at the time. And
Definitely,
then I had
definitely.
to do the car crash right after that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there was an intense car crash, and there's also the scene where you're jumping over the hood of the cars. And was that all you? I mean, you're the stunt guy, right? So that was probably
Yeah,
you doing that as
no,
well
that was
too.
all me when I was young and spry.
Amazing. And any memorable stories on set from working with Eddie Murphy? I know he just recently had his birthday, but well, any memorable moments from Eddie on set?
Uh, Well, Eddie didn't spend a lot of time like most people do in between shots. After each shot, he would go back to his motorhome.
Uh-huh.
And so we didn't spend personal time. The only time I spent any intimate time with him was when we were designing fights or things like that, or I was showing him the action. Um, I think the first punch I showed him at the chop shop, I was going to show him how to punch the guy inside, and we were in downtown East LA. Rats were running across the street, and I went to bring my right hand back to show him a punch, and I hit a chest behind me, and it was one of Eddie's bodyguards. So he had
Oh,
these
wow.
two bodyguards who called him number one whenever they brought him to the set.
Wow.
And I said, can you give me a little bit of room? And he'd never been on a movie set before. So I said, there's nobody here that's going to hurt him except the rats. So, and then later on in the movie, I was showing him in a fight that we were doing in a tunnel, and he ended up on his back. And I wanted to show him how to get off of his back and get on top of his opponent. So I said, Eddie, just take your fist and throw it like a hammer onto his chest. And he said, well, that's like a bitch punch. And I went, so I hit him in the chest with it, and it hit him hard enough that he realized, oh shit, that would work. So so he liked that, and we used it in the movie.
Wow. Was this the tunnel scene a little bit towards the end of the movie?
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Definitely. And were you involved in the previous films at all, or was this the first Beverly Hills Cop movie that you're
No,
a
yeah,
part of?
this was the first one.
I see, I see. And coincidentally enough, right, they just recently made part four that came
Yeah,
out, since 94. So this was 30 years, 31 years later. So the
yeah.
franchise is still ticking, and they're still discussing maybe doing a part five. So is there a chance we might see you return to the franchise or any discussion?
Probably not. It's different. It's different people. I was for that movie, I was hired by the director.
Hmm. Hmm.
Every movie, a stunt coordinator is brought onto a movie by whoever has the strongest say in that movie production. So it could be the unit production manager, it could be the director, it could be a producer. Your name could be brought up by somebody in makeup that worked with you years ago. My my stunt coordinating career really took off with a man named Roger Pugliese, who called me one day. I think I was in the business about 8 years at that point, and he called me and said, "Hi, Rick. My name's Roger Pugliese. I worked with you on a movie called Blowout years ago, And now I'm a production manager, and I was wondering if you could stunt coordinate this movie and stunt double for Richard Gere in this movie. It's called Pretty Woman. So I said, well, why did you call me? And he said, well, you were the only person that was nice to me on the set. So
Wow.
you just never know who is going to be the one that has the power to get you on a movie. So as far as another Beverly Hills Cop, well, you never know, but
Hmm.
uh, it just depends on who's got the clout.
And your career, obviously, it's been a very unique journey as well, too, right? I mean, prior to getting into the business, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me, but you were an officer, you were also an army sergeant, you also have a strong boxing background as well, too. How did that transition into getting into the Hollywood business?
Well, God had a plan. I guess everything has moved. I guess I just really like to stay busy. I'm never happy unless I take whatever I aspect of life I get into. I want to take it as far as I can. If I'm not very good at it, I'll drop out of it and get into something else. So it's a curse and a blessing in some respects because uh, I'm blessed because I have that desire. I'm blessed because I have that risk gene that's been identified by doctors. It's a gene that skiers have, professional athletes, risk takers take. So it's a curse in that respect, but it's also a blessing because you get to live life at its fullest.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep. No, no, absolutely. I mean, for someone that's new trying to break into the business, if and I've actually had we've been honored to have many actors, directors, and stunt coordinators on our show, and I always ask, like, if you had a chance to pick, right, would you rather be at the top of your field in acting or the top of your field in stunts? And it's also great to sort of hear the responses from our guests. I'm just curious to see if you had a chance to pick top of your field in acting or top of the field in stunts, which one would you pick if you had a chance to do it over again?
Well, I'll tell you a short little story. Stunts for sure, and the reason why is my first movie. I doubled John Travolta. I doubled him for 10 years. He's the one that got me in the Screen Actors Guild um, when I was a cop. So that's how I got from being a cop. That's a long story. It's in my book, one of my books. Um, but I did this car chase the first weekend we were there. And because I was the star of the day driving the lead Jeep through this parade of 1,000 extras, at the end of the day, I was signing autographs. But the beauty of it was when we wrapped, I walked around the corner and I was just me again. I could have peed on a wall and nobody would have cared. If you're an actor and you're at the top of your game, you can't do that. You have no privacy, and I like my privacy. I enjoy the notoriety that we get nowadays being a stunt person. But I don't think I would want to be known as an actor.
Hmm. Hmm. And we did have the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which was centered around two characters. One was the star actor, and one was the stunt performer for that star actor. And there's a sequel being made right now. It's what I'm hearing, right? With Brad Pitt, who was the stuntman. So the stuntman's the one that's getting the additional story. It was the stuntman who won the Academy Award, right? And Brad Pitt. So I don't know if there's a correlation there.
Yeah, well, we've been trying to get an Oscar for stunts for years, and the Academy refuses to give it to us. As a matter of fact, this year they added casting agents to get Oscars, even though we're the performers on the movie. I don't know if they'll ever get to that. Interesting enough, Brad was wearing a Stuntman's Association belt buckle through that movie, so we this last year gave him uh, his own member belt buckle and made him an honorary member of our group. So that was
Wow.
kind of cool.
That's amazing. And I would love to learn sort of and again the Cliff Notes version of it, as far as the method to the madness, right? Because you did win the SAG award for The Dark Knight, right? And that movie had some really complex chasing scenes, and you've been part of many chasing scenes throughout your career. But what was it like drafting, or how does that process even go about to sort of coordinate those scenes?
Well, the Batman series, I did four Batman movies. The first one was Batman Returns, and we did the big uh, jerk, we call them jerk offs. It's a ratchet wire on a dance floor. We had 30 dancers that were blown up by the Penguin. But then Chris Nolan started the Batman series, and Tom Struthers, who became a really good friend of mine on Titanic, gave me a call and brought me out to Chicago uh, for 5 weeks of rehearsals for those chases. I'm used to going on a set like The Fall Guy or Knight Rider and doing a car rollover or a car jump without rehearsals. So that was something strange to me. It was a very eclectic group of drivers. Jim Wilkie was there, and Terry Jackson, a number of other guys, Wade Allen. We became lifelong friends after that first movie. And it was interesting because for those 5 weeks, what are you going to rehearse? Everything we rehearsed, we didn't do in the movie anyway. We were based in Chicago, in Illinois, and then we drove to Indiana every day so that we would do the rehearsals away from the public. Chris Nolan was trying to keep the Batmobile a top secret. So when they brought it out from the warehouse for us to rehearse the chases, anytime a plane would go over, they'd cover it up and put it back in the warehouse. And then they would tell the stunt guys, don't take pictures of it. But of course, as soon as they turned around, we'd all get our cameras out and take pictures of it. So yeah, I wasn't used to rehearsing for that amount of time, but on all three Batman movies we did with Chris, um, he he used 5 weeks of rehearsals. That's the British way of doing things.
Um, did you get to ride the Batmobile?
Yeah, we all got a chance. I think on the second one, we all got a chance in the parking lot to hop in and do a little driving. It's a hard vehicle to drive. It's a lot of power. It's real. It's got a lot of power. So that was kind of fun to do.
That's awesome. I mean, that's a badge of honor in itself to be able to drive the Batmobile and maneuver the Batmobile.
Yeah.
Was Christian doing any of those scenes, or was that all stuntmen during those times?
No, those were all stunt. Those were all doubles.
Awesome. And I do also want to ask, because we did, just speaking of Batman, we did recently lose a Batman, and Val Kilmer, who you also worked with in the movie Heat. So love to, just jump into the Heat film, which again, another memorable scene that you're part of, that robbery scene with Wayne Grow. And I mean, I'd love to hear, because I've, obviously read, and you've already worked with Michael Mann before this movie, right? Was it LA Takedown before
Yeah, I
this,
worked
or?
with Michael on LA Takedown, and he picked me to play this part in Heat. Um, that was a really interesting scene because Michael, who I just saw last month, I was invited to a screening of Dune 2, uh, where he got a whole bunch of us together to go watch it, special at a place downtown. Um, when he cast me for Heat, uh, I had a squib that had to go off of my head, and he was intimately involved in everything we did, down to making sure we had custom made um, ear protection when we were inside the armored car. Um, he had 21 cameras shoot that at one time. When this big semi truck that was driven by Gary McClarty, we used to call the Wiz, who's a legendary driver here in Hollywood, he came in and hit Tommy Wiseaulas, who was the driver, uh, full on. And Tommy couldn't protect himself. There was a camera on him. There was a camera in a sewer hole. There was a camera in a flower pot. There were so many cameras that they rehearsed the cameras for one day with us because the first camera would run out of film by the time the 21st camera started. And then when it got to the point where I got shot in the head, Michael wanted me to fall a particular way. And so he got back then we had 1,000 foot mags of actual film. It wasn't digital. So he put the camera on his shoulder and got right in my face for that scene and had me sway back and forth. Al Pacino was over there saying, yeah, he should be swaying more, Michael. And he said, shut up. You're not directing, which was really funny. but yeah, he spent his own personal time shooting that particular scene himself.
That's amazing. And I mean, many memorable legends from that set in Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Val Kilmer. I mean, it's difficult to ask, from essentially like, what was it like working with each one? But I mean, just starting off with Val Kilmer, any memorable scenes that you could share kind of time with him or any conversations you've had with him?
No, I didn't really spend any time with Val at all. I did another movie. I can't remember what the name of it was with him, but he was one of the actors that I've been on a movie with, but I didn't spend any time with.
Yeah.
Bob De Niro, however, I've done 13 movies with,
I was gonna say yep.
and I presently have been doubling him for quite a while. Matter of fact, I'm leaving in a week, 2 weeks to go to New York to do The Whisper Man with him. So yeah, yeah, he's a good guy to work with.
I did just recently watch the Alto Nights. Were you part of that film as well, or was that a different?
No, no. Some of
Uh,
the movies that he works on, there's no stunts, and he's pretty physical himself. He's in his early 80s, but he stays in shape. And if it's not something that's going to hurt him, he'll do that kind of stuff himself. So some of his movies don't even have any action in them.
hmm
Uh,
hmm Yeah. And obviously too now, there's talks. Apparently, there's a Heat 2 in the works, and I have the book up here. Otherwise, I pull it down, but it's on the bottom of the list. I don't want to knock down the other books, but Red Heat 2, amazing story. I'm excited to see that they're actually working on a film where it's a sequel prequel. Right? Are there anything that you could share on that, or do you know if you're going to be a part of the sequel at all?
well, I'm dead, so I doubt it. I don't think Bob would be involved if he is. If I don't know that there would be any action, but if there is, I hopefully would be a part of that. It's interesting because a friend of mine's wife wrote that second book.
Oh yeah, Meg Gardner.
Yeah, yeah. So he told me about that in an email, I think a year and a half or so ago. So
Mhm.
yeah, I've been hearing the rumors about it myself.
Yeah, I read the book, and then I went back and actually listened to the Audible version of it, and it just felt like you were watching or listening to the movie. So
Yeah.
definitely, I think it's funner because it's a long piece too. It's about 20 hours or 22 hours even on Audible,
Oh
and it took
wow.
me. I'm a slow reader, so it took me a few months to read on my own. So I definitely recommend folks to listen to the Audible version, and it's a great take. I mean, it's basically taken place, right after the first Heat movie, not giving away spoilers, and then it goes back in time and kind of, sets the stage for the additional cast, and you get new stories or new elements that you didn't know. So I'm excited
Ah,
to see it, and the cast that they have, rumored to play certain characters is exciting as well.
cool.
There. I'd love to also ask as well too, and again, I mean, with over 700 projects, is it possible to even pinpoint which one was your most memorable out of all of them? Is that even possible?
No, well, I could say that the most fun I had on a movie was Anchorman.
Mm-hmm.
Second unit directed that and coordinated it only because Will is such a highly talented comedian. That particular movie, the director, his name slips my mind, but Adam McKay,
Yeah.
that was his first directorial job. And they would run the scripted line and then Will would just go off. And he would go through 1,000-foot mags all day long. And the whole crew, we would sit there and just cover our mouths because it was hilarious. So that was the funnest movie to do. The nicest movie that I did, if you want to say nice holiday wise, was in Hawaii, Journey to the Center of the Earth 2, where I flew a helicopter, doubling an actor on that. And then I guess I guess the Chris Nolan series uh,
Mm-hmm.
were my most memorable. I did 5 or 6 movies with Chris, Dunkirk and few the Prestige I coordinated, and then the Batman movies. So
Yeah.
I would guess that the biggest one, of course, is Beverly Hills Cop 3, where we got a Guinness World Book of Records for the biggest turnover in movie history up to that time. 54 cars in a day and a half, 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. People
Wow.
look at it now and think it was all CGI, and it would be done CGI nowadays, but we were all driving those cars.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's that movie. I mean, that entire series. I mean, that's just my Eddie Murphy's my favorite actor. So that series, yeah, really holds a special place in my heart. That's no surprise to hear. I mean, that intensity of that scene. Is there anything that you won't do now that you did do early on in your career? Is there anything that you refuse to do now at this stage from a stunt perspective?
Um, Car hit. But all stuntmen, even young men, will tell you that after you've done one, you don't want to ever do another one again. So
Yeah.
that's probably it. I don't know what I'll be doing when I go back to New York. They haven't told me, so I never say no. I wouldn't probably do. I've had my share of high falls. I don't think I would do any more high falls. And nowadays they don't really do them anymore. They do it on wires.
Yeah.
So it's a different world as far as the stunt doing stunts is. There's a lot of CGI.
Yeah.
Instead of doing an air ram in front of a real explosion, you do it on a stage, and then they add the explosion later. Don't
Yeah.
even do squibs nowadays. They do it post. So
Yeah.
it's a different world. We were still figuring things out when I got into the business 46 years ago. Some of the things we were doing, it had never been done before. And the director would ask us, well, where would the car end up? And we said, I have no idea. We haven't done this before. So ratchets were just coming into play. The first air rams broke a lot of knees. Yeah, it was a very exciting time.
Have you ever had to have had the tough conversations with the filmmakers, right? Because you got the screenwriters that write the vision, right, of what they want the story to be, and the director to sort of put everything together. But being that now you guys, your team has to make this come to life, has there ever been a scene where you said, "Hey, this isn't possible," or maybe had to rework it to where, "Hey, maybe we should adjust it and pivot to do this," just based on your guys' experience? Have you ever had to give a director or filmmaker the tough conversation?
No, not really, because if you're coordinating a show, there's a certain amount of time for pre-production. There's lots of meetings. The first meeting that you have before you're hired is with the director to see if the two of you jive, if he's what you're looking for. I mean, some directors will tell you exactly what they want to see in a scene. Other directors want you to create it all and even
Yeah.
shoot it as the second unit director. So unless you're showing up for a day as a coordinator on a TV show or something like that, and they want to do something, and you have to say, well, we can't do it that way, but we can do it this way. That's the job of a creative stunt coordinator, is to still give the director what he wants, but maybe in a different way. So no, I don't recall ever saying no to a director. There's a funny Eddie Dono story in the Beverly Hills Cop one movie. If I could say a dirty word, can I say a dirty
Of course,
word?
of course.
So Eddie Dono is a legendary stuntman. I knew him well. He's a wonderful man. He's gone on to heaven, um, where he's raising hell, I'm sure. But he did that stair fall in a little child's school seat down down this flight of stairs. It was an ass kicker. And when he ended up on the bottom, he was upside down, and John Landis walked over to him and said, "That was great, Eddie. Can you do another one?" And Eddie said, "Go fuck yourself." So some people do say no,
Yep.
um, but not usually. And it's really a fault of stunt people, women and men, in as much as we really have a nature of wanting to please. So you might be, I mean, a perfect example of it is in that Fall Guy movie where the director's slamming him into the rocks with a ratchet on a wire. Um, we'll keep doing it over and over and over again until they're happy. Um, I think as a senior in this business, I wouldn't allow myself to go through that anymore. If somebody is abusing me on this set because they don't think they got the shot,
Yeah.
I'll just say, okay, we're not doing that again. I've
Yeah.
done that a few times on movies where I've told the director, okay, he's done. We're not going to do this again. So,
Yeah.
we'll,
Yeah, I've we've interviewed Gabriel Rodriguez, who goes by G Rod. I don't know if I don't think that you guys have worked together, but he's been on the Cobra Kai series. He was just recently in Bad Boys 4. And I remember we had an interview scheduled and he had a very intense scene the day before. And I don't know if it was his whole cheek or whole lip got messed up. We had to postpone our interview. So I do have a strong respect the work that you guys do because again, like without you guys, these movies don't come to life, and you guys take most of the beatings for it. So I would like to definitely see the stunt category and get some recognition amongst the Academy Award because I think it's well deserved.
yeah, it's an old school view of us. The Emmy Awards finally came around and are giving awards, but it's interesting enough. Uh, they they don't do it at the Emmys. They do it the day before.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
don't really include the stunt people.
Yeah.
The SAG Awards, we don't get the statues. We get a certificate. Why is
Mm.
that? And then,
Mm.
of course, the Oscars, they ignore us completely. So,
Yeah.
um, I think the original days of stunt people were just these cowboys that were willing to fall off a horse. Bring in the stunt guy, put him up on the top of the stairs. Okay, kick him down the stairs, and we weren't even considered athletes. We were just considered crazy cowboys. Um, as time went on, we had more educated, college educated athletes get into this business. Very creative, so
Mhm.
ones. I've directed a couple of movies. There's a number of stunt people that have gone on that directed movies of the John Wick series and Fall Guy and other movies of note. And we're finally getting to the point where we're being looked at in a much more mature way. Uh, Even in the Directors Guild of America, which I'm a member of, as a second unit director, we don't get residuals. The UPM gets it, the first AD gets it. Um, I'm not sure if the second AD, but the director of the second unit doesn't get residuals, and nor do we even get written up in the magazine when the movie gets out. So there's this thing in Hollywood that still we still have to rise above and get more recognition for.
Do you see yourself wanting to direct more projects in this stage of your
I
career?
I tell you what, the two movies I directed, they were low budget movies. I can tell you that directing is extremely, extremely stressful. Uh, it's a 24/7 job. You go out to do the best movie you can, and then it's all out there for the critics. A guy like Mel Gibson, I got a chance to work with him a couple times. Here's a guy that not only was the main actor in Braveheart, but he produced it and directed it. I don't know how you have to be a Superman to be able to do something like that. So
Yeah.
if a directing job came, yes, I think I just finished a script from a book I just is being published as we speak called Vasquez, and I would love to direct it if somebody picked it up, and if one of your people listening to you have a few $1 million, come on down to LA and let's do this movie Vasquez.
Awesome. We'll promote it here. We'll definitely promote it here.
Okay.
No, and that would be amazing too. And essentially, as well, you mentioned, Braveheart and Mel Gibson. Coincidentally, I just watched that movie yesterday. That was the movie that I watched last night was Braveheart for some strange reason. You know, when you see clips on YouTube and you're like, you know what, I'm done with the clips. I want to just rewatch the movie again, and
Yeah.
went through it again and watched it. And it's just such an amazing movie.
I
Um,
worked with him on a movie called Edge of Darkness, and it was
yeah.
funny because I had also worked with him on the river years before, and it was just me and him for the whole day doing a fight. And I was cast as an actor, given a few lines. Um, and when he showed up on the set, I he walked up to me and I said, "Hi, Mel. My name's Rick Avery, and I worked with you years ago when we were both young and handsome." And he said, "Well, what the fuck happened to you?" And that's how our day was. It was
That's
just a fun day working with him.
Yeah, Edge of Darkness, that was one of his first movies coming back, I think after a few years, taking a few years
Yeah,
break. So, and I loved it. I was like, this guy looks like he hasn't even lost a step. So yeah, he was awesome in that movie. And I'm excited. I mean, he's still got he's working still, and there's a lot of exciting projects that he's working on now, and
yeah,
hopefully with Passion of the Christ too. And I still want to see Lethal Weapon 5. And
yeah,
he's taken over the director duties, but I mean, it's like we need to get that movie soon. It's going to be hard to make in a few more years.
yeah.
There. I did also want to ask, as far as, and again, you've worked with some of the all-time greats, both from an acting standpoint and directors, but is there still someone, if we can find them, that you haven't worked with that you still are hoping to work with?
I can't really think of anybody. There's a few people I haven't worked with Tom Cruise. I think I've worked with almost everybody
Yeah. Yeah.
to this point. Harrison Ford worked with him just recently. Um, yeah, Michael Caine was one of my favorites to work with. Yeah, I pretty much work with most everybody. I can't think of anybody that I'm waiting on. But
Definitely, definitely.
I don't know who I'll work with next year. So whoever I
Yeah.
haven't worked with, maybe I'll work with them soon.
Amazing, amazing. And I always love to ask our guests, whenever you guys are not working, what are some of the shows that you guys are binge watching? What's the last show that you watched on TV?
Well, I'm a big Taylor Sheridan fan, so I've watched all of
Yeah,
his series.
yeah,
That's not so much an actor I want to meet, but I'd really love to work on one of those shows.
yeah.
Yeah,
How
those
good is Landman? Landman's amazing.
Landman, all of them. There's especially the ones that he writes because he's a phenomenal writer. And
Yeah.
I love his characters and their development and how the bad guy always gets his. And yeah, that's probably my favorite series of movies to watch.
Have you done a lot of horseback riding scenes? Is that something you do
No,
too?
I'm not known as a cowboy. I've done horseback riding scenes. I can ride a horse. I can do a saddle fall. Yeah, I've got a few movie jobs, and for me they were fun. My cowboy friends. There's a story in my book. It's really funny. I don't know if we have time.
Of
Uh,
course.
he, I was doing a movie called Son of the. Son of the Morning Star. It's about Custer's last stand. And we had 1,000 extras on horses up there in Montana. And so I brought my son to the set that day. And my job, I played an Indian on one day, and then I changed clothes. I'd be a cavalry guy. We were doing saddle falls and rearing falls and horse falls and all kinds of stuff on the show. And we had this one big scene where we're up on a hill. There's probably 500 people in this battle scene. And Clifford Happy was next to me slightly up the hill. And my job was to get shot, fall off my horse. And when I fell off my horse, his horse uh, came down, reared up. So that was a shot. I fall off my horse. He rears his horse, but his horse came down on top of me and started trying to get away. And Clifford was pulling on the reins, trying to get the horse away from me. And I felt the hooves hitting my side. So I rolled on my other side
Oh my
so I
goodness.
could give this side a break. And then when they yelled cut, I looked over my shoulder from being on the ground and people were running up with a stretcher. They thought I was killed. My
Oh
son
my,
was watching this.
oh my goodness.
Uh, it was fine because I dusted myself off. I rolled over. I said, "Oh, all my parts are here. I'm good." So I went. working with cowboys is a special thing. And
Yeah.
all the stunt cowboys were on that show. And when I got back to where we were all resting, I sat down and I said, "Why don't you guys bring on a car to hit me? This is all kid shit. This doesn't even hurt." Well, we got in the bus. A bus was taking us back and forth to the hotel every night. And I sat in the back with my son. And when we got to the hotel, he said, "Okay, Dad, let's go. Everybody's getting up." And I went, "No, let's just sit here for a sec." So everybody got off the bus. And he said, "Well, what's up?" I said, "I can't move. And I've been bragging to these cowboys how this is all kid shit. And I
Wow.
can't move. You're going to have to help me up. And you're going to have to get me to the elevator without them seeing me
Oh my
because I want
goodness.
them to know I'm in so much pain."
Oh my goodness.
We got up to the room. I took a bathtub. I had a couple of, I don't want to sound like a drug addict, but I had a couple of Percodans to get me through the next day because I had 5 more saddle falls to do the next
Wow.
day. But I put that in
Wow.
my book and I told all my cowboy friends, "Oh, now you know the truth."
And we're definitely going to list your books as well too, so fans can access them as well. Did your son decide to get in the business at all, or after seeing that was like no chance?
Yeah. Oh no. Well, my youngest son, Mikey, he got in the business at 3 years old.
Oh
He
wow.
worked with Jack Gill on a movie called The Gnome Named Norm. Uh, and his job was just to fit in this little gnome outfit and then jump off a desk where some squibs were going off. Real simple thing, but he was only 3. So
Wow.
Jack called me and said, "I think Mikey can fit in this thing. Would you let him work on the show?" And I said, "Yeah, if you'll get him his Screen Actors Guild card." So he did. And then
Wow.
Mikey worked for another 28 years till he was 28 and then retired, got out of the business. He said, "I don't want to do this anymore."
Wow.
He was doing it since he was 3. My oldest son, Brian, is an extremely successful stuntman, stunt coordinator, and works all the time. And yeah, I'm very proud of him. He's done really well.
Well, they learned from the best, so that makes sense. No surprise there. I know you probably have a ton of projects that are still coming up, but are there any that you're allowed to share or worth sharing with the fans?
Well, the only projects I have coming up is this week I'm working on a Colin Farrell show. I'm just playing a boxing referee. I don't even know what the scene is. They wanted somebody who knew something about boxing, so I'm doing that this week, and then I'm going to work with Bob, as I said. Um, I think a couple of weeks, then I go to Italy, and then I come back to New York and work with Bob again. Um, yeah, and I just worked on a show called Burnt, but I don't have anything after Bob yet.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, and again, just seeing his last project in the Alto Nights. I mean, I really enjoyed. I thought it was a very good story, good period piece, playing two characters, and both were very. I was kind of nervous. I was like, yeah, I feel like we're going to see the same guy in both characters, but both were very different in their own. I thought the makeup was actually very distinctive to where I felt like it was two different guys, and I was like, man, he's still going at it. He's still the same.
Yeah, he
Fiery
is.
and great.
We just finished well, it's on Netflix now. We did Zero Day last year.
Yeah, really good
That's
show.
playing
Yep,
now. Yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. I don't know what the Whisper Man's about, but I'll find out when I get there.
definitely, definitely. Well, we'll save that for round two. And if
Okay.
you meet with Robert and he wants to come on the show, we'd love to have him on as well too.
Yeah, well, if you ever watch him on talk shows, he's God bless him. He's not a talker. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Even when he's on the set, he's a very shy man until he's in front of the camera.
Yeah,
If you've got nothing, I found out over the years, if you've got nothing to say, don't walk up and start talking because he's not going to carry the conversation.
yeah,
And it always gets a laugh on the talk shows because the host will ask him a question and he'll make a nod and the place will crack up because they
yeah.
think that's his character. But he admittedly so says, "I'm a shy guy." So it's very interesting having got to know him.
One of the greatest actors of our time, and definitely, I hope he keeps working for the next 20, 30 years if he can, and we keep getting exciting projects, and that
Yeah,
also
me
will
too.
hopefully keep you busy as well.
Yeah. Well, whenever he does these comedies, that's when I go to work. I mean, we did a comedy, what was it, The War with Grandpa, I think it was.
Yeah.
Where I had to do talk about horse work. I had to do a saddle fall off the back of a horse, and we did some ratchets and explosions and some Home Alone marble floor falls. So when he does comedies, there's quite a bit of work
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
for me. It's the serious ones that it's a little less.
Did you work on the Meet the Parents series at all with him?
Meet the
Or
Fockers, yeah,
oh, cool, cool. Well, they're
yeah.
potentially, I mean, I heard they're working on a fourth film
Oh,
as well.
really?
Yeah, I heard there's rumors of a, or at least it's in pre-production, is for what I'm seeing. So that would be perfect. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
just excited to see what the title is going to be, but that'd be cool to hopefully see you work in that film as well.
yeah. That was fun. That was a fun show.
Definitely. And Rick, I want to be respectful of your time. I really, really enjoyed having you on our show and sharing this journey, and excited to share with the fans. We're also going to promote Vasquez as well too. Hopefully it gets picked up, and we'll share the links to your books. And would really love and welcome you to return anytime. It was an honor to have you on our show today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I always enjoy lying on public. Yeah, no, I appreciate it very, very much so. And if anybody does want a signed copy of any of my books, they can email me at rickavery8 @gmail, and I'll be happy to send them one out.
Perfect. We'll include that in the link to our interview as well too.
Sounds good, pal.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rick. We'll talk soon.
Okay, cheers.
See you. Take care. Bye bye.